Welcome back to the channel, y'all. Today we're continuing with our class and subclass tier list for Baldur's Gate 3. And today we're going to be covering the Wizard, which is my favorite. I can't say that with a straight face. Anywho, we're going to be covering the Wizard today. Now here's our current tier list of all the classes that we've already covered. You can see that A tier is getting very crowded. Now the Wizard has 9 subclasses in Baldur's Gate 3, so we're going to try to move fast. But before we get started, consider hitting that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's get going. Alright, and the first Wizard subclass that we're going to rank is the Abjuration Wizard. So you pick this up at level 2, you pick up all the Wizard subclasses at level 2, and for Abjuration here you get Arcane Ward, and this is going to put a barrier around your Wizard that's going to intensify as your Wizard increases in levels. And so when an enemy hits you, it's only going to decrease your ward by 1, making this one of, if not the tankiest subclass in the game. And after your Arcane Ward starts to get depleted, you just need to simply cast an Abjuration spell, and that'll easily build your stacks back up. So spells like Mage Armor or Glyph of Warding, these are going to be perfect for this subclass. Now at level 6 we pick up our next subclass feature, which is going to be Projected Ward. So when our allies take damage, we can basically lend them our Arcane Ward, and it's only going to deplete our barrier by 1. So this actually makes Abjuration Wizard here a really good support class when it comes to your allies. And at level 10, we pick up our last subclass feature, which is going to be Improved Abjuration. So after a short rest, our Arcane Ward, the stacks that it'll get, it'll match our Wizard's level. This is going to be a really easy way, even more easy than it already is, to build up our barrier for, again, building up your Arcane Ward. So you can spend less spell slots, again, keeping up your barrier, and use them for either something like haste or throwing fireballs, using other spells, essentially. So when it comes to ranking Abjuration here, they're extremely hard to kill, making them one of, if not the tankiest subclass in the game. Pair that with their ability to lend out their Projected Ward for their allies. And again, because they're so hard to kill, this makes it one of the best solo subclasses in the game as well. I don't think I can put this anywhere other than S tier. So we're starting off really strong with the Wizards, but don't worry, it's all downhill from here. And our next Wizard subclass that we're going to rank is the Bladesinging Wizard. Now this is the latest addition with Baldur's Gate 3's final patch. So for Bladesinging here, first off, you get to your proficient in light armor, but you also get to pick up a weapon. And you can see your Bladesinger's weapons here. What you choose actually in the screen here doesn't matter. You're proficient with all these weapons. In addition to that, we're going to get these Blade Song charges, which go along with our class action, which is the Blade Song. So while we're in this Blade Song stance, this is a class action, doesn't cost an action point or a bonus action. So as soon as you get into combat, you can trigger Blade Song here, and this is going to give you 2 to your armor class. It's going to increase your movement speed. You do get advantage in acrobatics, but the +2 to your Constitution saving throws, really good. While you're in this Blade Song stance, you also unlock the ability to do a Blade Song Climax, which is going to take you out of this stance. Now, this Blade Song Climax, it's going to do damage, but also heal allies in this area or this radius. Now, this is going to be using a resource called Blade Song Charges, and you build up 2 types of charges. Every time you cast a spell in your Blade Song stance, it's going to build up a damage charge. And every time you attack with your weapon, it's going to build up a healing charge. And depending on how many charges you have, that's what your Blade Song Climax is going to use as far as damage or healing. So in my opinion, this is a very unique and fun way to play Baldur's Gate 3. Now at level 5, we pick up another Blade Song charge. You start off with 2, but now we're going to be at 3 charges, and you need to use these charges to enter your Blade Song stance. Call it a stance, but it could also be interpreted as like a form as well. And then at level 6, we pick up extra attack, making Bladesinging here both a spellcaster and a melee martial character. And then at level 9, we pick up another charge, so we're at a total of 4 now. And then finally, at level 10, we pick up our last subclass feature, which is Song of Defense. So anytime we take damage while we're in our Blade Song form, we can use a spell slot to subtract 5 damage per that spell slot level. So for example, if we use a level 1 spell slot, we will subtract 5 damage. If we use a level 2 spell slot, we'll subtract 10 damage. Now initially when I was thinking about where I was going to be ranking Bladesinging, I was going to base it off of the Blade Song Climax, because that can be a little bit tricky to build up those charges and make it feel like efficient and powerful, because I would say veteran players, most rounds don't last that long, so you'd really have to be on top of your game of building up these charges, and then the result probably just not going to be as strong as you would like. But I think I'm actually going to rank it a little bit higher. I'm going to be putting it into A tier. And that's because of just the base benefits of being in your Bladesong stance. You add on top of that your extra attack that you get at level 6. And then just the baked in feature about being a wizard and having every spell accessible to you. All of this stacked on top of each other just makes this a very powerful subclass. Alright, and the next subclass that's up is Conjuration. And their subclass feature is Minor Conjuration, Great Water. I feel like we already have a spell that does that. Anywho, I'm sure it'll get better. Now at level 6 we pick up the subclass action here, Benign Transmutation Teleport. So we can teleport to a nearby unoccupied space or swap places with an ally until long rest. Don't we already have a spell that does that? Anywho, I'm sure the subclass will get better. Alright then, at level 10, the subclass feature we get is Focus Conjuration. Damage taken while you're concentrating on a conjuration spell will not break your concentration. That's kind of underwhelming. Anywho, I'm sure it'll get better. Well y'all, it actually didn't get any better. Conjuration is just lame in my opinion, but there are plenty of water jugs in the map, and its teleportation ability is only once per long rest, but you can like refresh it by using another conjuration spell. It's just a lot of work for, again, teleportation in this game is kind of easy. We have something like Dimensional Door, Misty Step, Enhanced Sleep. It's not the best, I would say, mobility option. And then not being able to break your concentration on conjuration spells, sure, that can be nice, but Defeat Warcaster kind of can cover you there by giving you advantage. And for that to be your last subclass feature, again, this subclass is just kind of lame. We're going to stick it into the D tier and we're just going to move on. There's very much a reason why nobody ever talks about this subclass. Alright, and the next wizard subclass that is up is Divination. In Divination, the subclass feature is this portent die system. So what this will allow you to do is basically change out any attack roll and any saving throw roll with these portent die. Now these are random as far as what dice number are they going to be. So you get 2 at the beginning here at level 2. And again, these will refresh at every long rest. Now what's nice about these portent dies are you use them as a reaction, but this actually doesn't use your reaction ability. And so this is a very handy way to ensure that you get a dice roll that you really want. Now at level 6 we pick up our next subclass feature, which is Expert Divination. And so we're going to get another portent die, so a total of 3. And then when we take a short rest, we're going to get a prophecy. This is essentially going to be like a little quest to complete. And once we do it, we're going to regain a missing portent die. So kind of a fun little feature here in my opinion. Now at level 10, we pick up Third Eye. We pick up this version of Third Eye Dark Vision, and then Third Eye See Invisibility. So we'll be able to see invisible creatures, and then the Dark Vision version we'll be able to see in dark places. This subclass feature kind of lame in my opinion for something that we get so late into in the game at level 10. Just yeah, not so cool. So when it comes to ranking Divination for the wizard, I kind of want to throw it into B tier. I was thinking about putting it into C tier because I feel like the RNG nature of the portent dies, but I think that can be a little bit fun. Unfortunately though, yeah, at level 10 there, that Third Eye feature that we get, not very useful in my opinion, kind of underwhelming, especially that late in the game. But I do think the base portent dice system, very cool, very unique, a good way to ensure some dice rolls, a little bit of RNG, definitely not going to be for everybody, but I do think it's solid, so probably going to sit at like the very tail end of B tier. Now next up we have Enchantment Wizard, and their subclass feature they get is Hypnotic Gaze. Now when you use this, you will charm and incapacitate a creature or target, basically a person, but you have to be in melee range, and you can only do this once per long rest, which is kind of my gripe with it because it's essentially like an action that you can use that is kind of like hold person. Now it doesn't cost a spell slot, but again, you got to be in melee range, which as a spellcaster that can kind of put you in some tricky situations, especially if your target wins the saving throw if you're using Hypnotic Gaze on them. But if you do end up succeeding your Hypnotic Gaze, you can use Maintain Hypnotic Gaze, and that'll increase the duration of how long they are charmed and incapacitated. So this subclass feature here is pretty good for locking down a single target for one encounter. And then at level 6, Enchantment gets Instinctive Charm. So as a reaction, if an enemy is attacking you, you can charm them. I think Minthara gets this inherently for like her character class ability or a character reaction. So this is good, no complaints there. And then at level 10, we get our last subclass feature. We get Split Enchantment. So our enchantment spells that are usually where we target one target, we can now target 2 enemies with them. So this works with something like hold person and hold monster, not with something like confusion or slow, because those are already like area effect spells, so it's just a single target once. Now with hold person and hold monster, you can upcast the spell to hit multiple targets. This just means you don't have to upcast it again if you want to target an additional person, so 2 total. So like Divination, Enchantment here, I was kind of teeter-tottering between C and B tier, but in the case of Divination, those portent dies, I just think they're more universally useful, where Enchantment here, this is very much a control wizard if you want to lock down targets. That's what you're kind of playing into. And that's not really for everybody, and that's kind of like, I would put that into a niche subclass category. So for me, Enchantment here, I'm going to put it into C tier. It can be useful. I just don't think a lot of people would be picking Enchantment Wizard here for a control class. I think other subclasses do it much better. And next up is Evocation Wizard. So our subclass feature here, Sculpt Spells, it basically creates a pocket where any spell that you're doing that has area effect that's an evocation spell, you will not hit your allies and they will succeed their saving throws. And this is great because a lot of spells in this game are evocation. We have something like Burning Hands and Thunderwave, and again, this won't hit your allies. This is very new player friendly. Now at level 6 we get the subclass feature Potent Cantrip. So our cantrips are harder to evade, and even if they do evade them, they take half damage. This is really good for ensuring, again, that you're doing consistent damage, because cantrips get pretty good later on and they're just a consistent source of damage for a spellcaster even when you run out of spell slots. So this is just a really nice subclass feature. And at level 10 we pick up the subclass feature Empowered Evocation. So this is going to add our intelligence modifier to those spells. Most of the evocation spells are like the heavy hitters in this game. Chain Lightning, Fireball, Ice Storm, Cold to Cold. Again, most of the heavy damage dealers are evocations, and this just makes them even stronger. So Evocation Wizard to me is the most new player friendly spellcaster in the game, especially because when you're using something like Fireball, you're not going to be hitting your allies, but the fact that they get the empowered version where they're adding their intelligence modifier to them, yeah, this is just a really solid subclass. I'm going to put it in A tier. Illusion is the next wizard subclass that's next, and their subclass feature is Improved Minor Illusion, which just lets you use your Minor Illusion now as a bonus action. So that's cool. I'm sure it gets better. And at level 6 we pick up See Invisibility. Great. And level 10, we get Illusory Self. So we will create a duplicate of ourselves when we're attacked that will cause our foe to automatically miss. Yeah, this subclass is going into D tier. Next up is Necromancy. Nice. Cool, we like that. So their subclass features Grim Harvest. So once per turn, that's good. If you kill a creature with a spell, you regain the hit points equal to twice that spell's level. Thrice if you used a necromancy spell. This is good. Off to a good start here. And at level 6 we pick up Undead Thralls, additional undead. So when we use Animate Undead, we get an additional undead minion. Good. And then we also pick up Better Summon. So our animated dead will have more hit points. And then as we level up, we're going to be giving them our proficiency bonus to their damage. And also when we level up, we're going to be giving them more health. So really playing into the undead fantasy. I like this. What else do we got? Well, what we got is at level 10, we get the subclass featured Inured to Undeath. So we are resistant to necrotic damage, and then our maximum hit points can't be reduced. Fortunately, I don't think this last subclass feature really sticks the landing with Necromancy. Started off promising, but this year, it's okay. Now when ranking Necromancy here, I am thinking about another subclass that kind of plays into this similar role, and I think it does a better job. Necromancy is solid, so I'm going to be sticking it into B tier. And the last wizard subclass is Transmutation. I actually like this subclass. So what do they get? They get experimental alchemy. So you can brew 2 alchemical solutions instead of 1 when you're combining the extracts. You just have to succeed that medicine check of 15. This is very much like a camp subclass. Not necessarily you want to bring with you, or not necessarily somebody you want to be with you like in your party for combat, but somebody that's nice to have around the camp. We're definitely playing into that because at level 6 we get these transmuter stones. Now there's a whole list of these stones that you can make. These stones here do all sorts of things. So again, really playing into that camp subclass kind of role. And for level 10, our subclass feature, we can turn into a blue jay and fly around in like a polymorph form because, I don't know, why not? So Transmutation Wizard here, a little bit of a weird subclass, definitely very niche because really good at being like this camp character for you. That's not going to be for everybody. I don't really like to do this every playthrough is have a transmuter. So again, because it's so niche but very useful, I'm going to stick it into C tier. Alright y'all, that is the video, that is our ranking. Here is the updated list. Now you can take a look at where we placed everything. I am starting to feel a little bit bad for putting champion so low. I was definitely harsh on that subclass, so thinking I'm gonna move them up because I just don't think they're in that caliber, as far as they belong in that C tier there. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about the wizard class in Baldur's Gate 3. For me, they're kind of all over the place when it comes to their subclasses. But anyways, that's the video. If you made it this far, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Peace and take care.